right, well, the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, and Kasparian with you guys. My God, what do we have? 5 days left before the election? How's that for heart pounding? But polls look better and better every day. Hold. Okay. So obviously election day, not just night, you are going to come here and we're going to have a fascinating time, that's guaranteed, and what I hope is an excellent time. So we start at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern with the damage report, and we go all the way through to the middle of the night to see what's gonna happen. We've got all the expertise for you guys. We know exactly what's happening in each of the states, and we're gonna be able to break it down for you guys. And obviously we'll give you not only a progressive perspective, but tons of progressive stars, Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, Nina Turner, you name it, they're all gonna be here. So do not miss Election Day on the Young Turks. Tell your friends, neighbors, and by the way, your conservative friends too, because they're positive Trump's gonna win. They're like, I can't wait to see how the Young Turks react. Yeah, me too. Come and see. All right, so lots of stories today, lots to get to. Hence, we go to Casper.
Yes, all right. Well, this one's a doozy. Might seem like a light story, but there's actually a lot more to it. So, Tucker Carlson highlighted something incredibly sinister that allegedly happened with documents that allegedly prove that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden were engaged in shady business deals that need to be reported about immediately. Now, I'll give you the details on what these documents allegedly contain, but before I do so, here's what Tucker Carlson highlighted on his show.
On Monday of this week, we received from a source a collection of confidential documents related to the Biden family. We believe those documents are authentic, they're real, and they're damning. At the time we received them, my executive producer, Justin Wells, and I were in Los Angeles preparing to interview Tony Bobolinsky about the Biden's business dealings in China, Ukraine, and other countries. So we texted a producer in New York and we asked him to send those documents to us in LA, and he did that. So Monday afternoon of this week, he shipped those documents overnight to California with a large national carrier, a brand name company that we've used, you've used countless times with never a single problem. But the Biden documents never arrived in Los Angeles. Tuesday morning, we received word from the shipping company that our package had been opened and the contents were missing. The documents had disappeared.
I wonder if Tucker knows how ridiculous he sounds, Anna. I mean, it's got "the dog ate my homework" written all over it. But also, why would you go on air and declare to everyone, we are grossly incompetent? We, had that critical to the election evidence, critical to America evidence. And we kind of lost it in the mail. And I'm telling you that because in a best case scenario, we're the most incompetent news team you've ever seen.
Right, I mean, look, what he's trying to do is I think everyone realizes is like set the stage for some sort of interference, some sort of tampering, basically a cover-up, right?
Yeah,
this is a cover-up.
Yeah, and by the way, his dog also part of the deep state, and that's why he ate part of the evidence, and it's now deep within his bowels. So look, guys, Nixon said he had a secret plan to end the Vietnam War. Donald Trump claims to have a secret healthcare plan that he hasn't shared in 4 years. And now Fox News has secret evidence against Biden. But boy, they'd love to share it with you before the election. It's just that the dog slashed the post office, or not the post office, but a brand name company happened to nefariously take it out. And I'm sure, of course, whatever it is, I don't know which one it is. What can Brown do for you? I don't know, ask the deep state.
So the segment continued with Tucker Carlson alleging that there was an investigation into the missing package, the missing documents. So let's hear what he has to say about that. And then I'll tell you about what these accusations are, and you can judge for yourselves. Let's watch.
Now, to its credit, the company took this very seriously and immediately began a search. They traced the envelope from the moment our producers dropped it off in Manhattan on Monday all the way to 3:44 a.m. yesterday morning. That's when an employee at a sorting facility in another state noticed that our package was open and empty. Apparently it had been opened. So the company's security team interviewed every one of its employees who touched the envelope we sent. They searched the plane and the trucks that carried it. They went through the office in New York where our producer dropped that package off. They combed the entire cavernous sorting facility. They used pictures of what we had sent so that searchers would know what to look for. They went far and beyond, but they found nothing. Those documents have vanished. As of tonight, the company has no idea and no working theory even about what happened to this trove of materials, documents that are directly relevant to the presidential campaign just 6 days from now. We spoke to executives at that company a few hours ago. They seemed baffled and deeply bothered by this.
Okay.
Baffled.
So I have a working theory. But first, I love that he's like, the company took it very seriously and then bothered to track it all the way. Yeah, that's called the tracking number. We all have those. And then when the package gets lost, we ask them. And then they take it very seriously, even if it's you. Okay, that's just super normal. My working theory is, even if they find like pictures of a package that is empty inside, stay with me here. What if there was no evidence and they sent an empty package? And then they go, oh, can you believe somebody broke into our package? Oh, well, we had put all the great secret evidence in there. I guess it's lost forever. Tough break we caught. And by the way, what can Brown do for you? Got you.
All right, so let's get serious for a second and discuss what the right wing, particularly the Trump campaign, is trying to essentially manufacture as it appears right now. And the reason why I'm saying manufacture is because the allegations that have been made against Joe Biden have not materialized through actual evidence yet. Could there be evidence? Maybe in the future, but so far as this story stands, there's a lot of right-wingers running around saying that there's evidence, saying that there's documentation of what Hunter Biden and Joe Biden are accused of, but yet we have not seen that evidence yet. So what are they accusing Joe Biden of? They claim that Joe Biden, who had publicly stated that he did not in any way engage with Hunter Biden's business dealings, actually lied about that and was part of consulting with Hunter Biden over a Chinese gas company and a business deal that company was engaged in or trying to engage in. That is the allegation, and that Joe Biden was allegedly paid $10,000 for his involvement in consulting in that deal. Now, understand that at the time that this allegedly happened, Joe Biden was not vice president. He had not launched his presidential campaign. So he was at that point a private citizen. And look, here's what the truth is. Hunter Biden serving on the board of Burisma was sketchy, and it's wrong, and I don't agree with it. Okay, that kind of nepotism isn't cool, but we see it all the time. We're seeing it in the White House right now. So if you want to be critical of that, I totally get it. But there has been no indication and no evidence of anything nefarious happening or Hunter Biden or Joe Biden carrying out anything nefarious. If there is, I would love to finally see documentation, data, evidence, anything of it, but I haven't seen it. So let me take you to the beginning of this accusation, the beginning of this story, which was written about in the New York Times by Ben Smith. And so he highlights a meeting that happened with Trump supporters, high-level people who are associated with Trump in October. They realize that Trump is lagging in the polls. They're desperate for some sort of scandal similar to Hillary Clinton's private email server. And so they come up with this idea. So in this meeting, you have a PR agent who's close with Don Jr. His name is Arthur Schwartz. You also have White House lawyer Eric Hirschman and former deputy White House counsel Stefan Pasantino. And in this meeting, the three had pinned their hopes for re-electing the president on Wall Street Journal White House reporter Michael Bender. So they were hoping that Michael Bender would do reporting that would essentially make it appear as though there was something nefarious going on with the Bidens. They delivered a cache of emails detailing Hunter Biden's business activities and on speakerphone, a former business partner of Hunter Biden's named Tony Bobulinski. So Cenk had brought up Bobulinski in the past. We heard about Bobulinski for the first time prior to the presidential debate, the last presidential debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Bobulinski was willing to go on the record in the Wall Street Journal with an explosive claim that Joe Biden, the former vice president, had been aware of and profited from his son's activities. The Trump team left believing that the Journal would blow the thing open, and their excitement was conveyed to Donald Trump. Now, the Wall Street Journal was supposed to publish some sort of expose on October 19th. That didn't come. Why? Why didn't they publish this incriminating expose on the Bidens? Well, first of all, red flag number one was Rudy Giuliani. Without warning his national allies, Rudy Giuliani burst onto the scene and delivered a cache of documents of questionable provenance, but containing some of the same emails to the New York Post, a sister publication, also kind of sinister, to the Journal in Rupert Murdoch's News Corp. Now, Giuliani's complicated claim that the emails came from a laptop Hunter Biden had abandoned, and his refusal to let some reporters examine the laptop cast a pall over the story, as did the Post reporting, which alleged but could not prove that Joe Biden had been involved in his son's activities. Could the documents or Bobulinski prove that Joe Biden was involved in his son's lobbying? Or was this yet another story of the younger Mr. Biden trading on his family's name? Now, the Wall Street Journal does the investigation. They're trying to find evidence of these claims. They're trying to, they're looking through the documents. And here's what happened. Former Vice President says he had no involvement. This is from their reporting that eventually came out. Corporate records reviewed by the Wall Street Journal show no role for Joe Biden. Anthony Bobulinski said that in 2017, Hunter Biden consulted his father about a planned venture with Chinese oil company SEFC China Energy Co. to invest in the United States and elsewhere. Bobulinski was also a partner. The venture, set up in 2017 after Biden left the vice presidency and before his presidential campaign, never received proposed funds from the Chinese company or completed any deals, according to people familiar with the matter. Corporate records reviewed by the Wall Street Journal show no role for Joe Biden. Text messages and emails related to the venture that were provided to the Journal by Bobulinski, mainly from the spring and summer of 2017, don't show either Hunter Biden or James Biden, that's the brother, discussing a role for Joe Biden in the venture, right? So I'm bringing this up because the whole allegation here is that Joe Biden was involved in this business deal, which even if he were, I don't really understand why that's such a huge problem, especially when you compare that to all the various things that Donald Trump is currently doing in dismantling our democracy, but all the corruption that he's engaged in, including funneling $8.2 million in taxpayer money into his own businesses since he became president. I'm a little more concerned about that, but let me continue telling you more about this. There was only one piece of evidence that Republicans so far have been pointing to show that Joe Biden was involved in this, right? And this is what it is. An email Bobulinski received from partner James Gilliar in May of 2017 proposed a possible equity arrangement for the 5 partners. The email references 10 held by H for the big guy. Mr. Bobulinski said H referred to Hunter Biden and the big guy was Joe Biden. Gilliar didn't respond to request for comment, nor did the other partner in the venture. Okay, so that is the only thing that's been referenced by Republicans so far. And it's not a definitive piece of evidence that shows that Joe Biden was involved with that deal, right? If it's Joe Biden, he's referred to as big guy, but we have no evidence indicating that that's who the email is referring to. And again, my biggest frustration with this story is how annoying it is to have to read through all this stuff and come up with an accusation that I personally think pales in comparison to what we've seen Donald Trump do. And then also you keep having these situations with Republicans who are like, we got the evidence, we're gonna show you the evidence, we got the evidence. Okay, then show us the evidence. Show us the evidence, Tucker Carlson. Don't do this like weird segment where you talk about like some sinister thing happening to a package.
Yeah.
You have the evidence. If you guys are competent, he claims that they have copies of those documents. Then show us the documents. What's taking so long? I just don't. It's annoying that this is a story, but anyway.
Yeah,
Cenk.
no. So the Republicans do this before every election, at least recently. Boo! There's a boogeyman. They're all corrupt. Ah, okay. One, it covers up their own corruption because then we're not talking about their corruption. We're talking about so-called corruption of someone else. And two, they don't mind lying at all. So far, the provenance of the story is Rudy Giuliani said that it was from a laptop that that the store owner got from. First, he said someone he didn't know. Then he changed it to Hunter Biden. Then he changed it to the store owner is blind.
Yeah.
Then Fox News loses the evidence in the mail. And I don't know if this, again, if Steve Bannon's dog ate anything because he's involved in this story too. So I can't think of anything less credible than the people bringing you this story. In fact, let me tell you about Rudy Giuliani today. So the guy who came up with the story in the first place, he went on a bowling show, wherever the hell that is, and he claimed that Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter, might be covering up child pornography.
Jesus Christ.
And that he should be, quote, put in jail. And then he went on to accuse him of perhaps working with the Chinese. So these are the lunatics that we're dealing with. And by the way, though, if Trump wins, there's a pretty good chance they put Jack Dorsey in jail. They're fascists. They're telling you. I mean, I didn't say it. Giuliani said it. He wants to put Dorsey in jail. Trump did a rally yesterday in Michigan or 2 days ago. And he mentioned the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. And the crowd immediately started chanting, lock her up, lock her up. They want to arrest all their, but Trump's not hiding it. I've told you this now 5 different times. Trump said, I want Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton all arrested before the election. So that's what fascism is. So that's what we're dealing with here. So for anyone who thinks they're being clever or contrarian by saying, but I think, Bobulinski might be talking about the big guy, who might be talking about Tucker's dog, who might be talking about Rudy's, something or other laptop, right? I'll get at. You really think that that's a real story, and you think that story is so major that it's like that's the main thing you should be talking about before the election, instead of all of Donald Trump's crimes and all of his corruption and all of his kids' corruptions. No one actually within their right mind believes that. So the people saying that, you should question their motives. So, and look, when it comes to us, we fight both. We fight the fascists and we fight the establishment. So you think we're gonna tell you that Hunter Biden working on the board of a gas company in Ukraine makes sense? Of course it doesn't make sense. And the Bidens get super touchy about this. You know why? Because of course Hunter Biden cashed in on his name. Of course, he doesn't know anything about Ukrainian gas. And the Bidens and the Democrats and the media telling you, no, Hunter Biden's an expert in Ukrainian gas. That's why people don't trust them. It's absurd. It's absurd, right? But does the rest of the media also tell you about all of the Democrats and Republicans whose family members cash in on a regular basis in DC? Orrin Hatch's son was a lobbyist. Coincidentally, I mean, he would never meet with his dad, but everything he lobbied for, Orrin Hatch helped to pass. And he got paid a ton of money for that. Did anybody talk about Orrin Hatch's lifelong corruption with his son? How about Norm Coleman's wife, who had a no-show job for a ton of money on an issue she didn't know anything about? The media honestly regularly covers this up because of their beloved goddamn politicians in DC that they love and the rest of us hate. But if you think the Hunter Biden non-story is as important as Trump's corruption, you're not very bright. And you're a useful idiot that others are using in this case. We're both telling you the serious part, the light parts of it. That's what we're doing a poll. Was it the dog who ate the homework? I don't know. So we're asking you guys, tyt.com/polls. It could be the dog ate it. It could be dog the bounty hunter ate it. It could be that the deep state ate it. And or maybe, just maybe, those secret documents that Fox News used to have don't exist, and they're goddamn liars. Woo, what a controversial opinion. All right, lastly, I just wanted to let you guys know, we also had secret evidence. And you're not gonna believe this. We also lost it in the mail. Oh my God, I was sending it to Anna across town, And it just got, and we did a tracking number on it.
It was a deep investigation.
Oh man, God.
Very deep investigation.
Man, UPS spent all 1 to 2 minutes on it to tell us where the package was. And inside the information in package, it had very incriminating information about Donald Trump. Number one, it said that he had sexually assaulted or harassed 26 different women. It said that he had also paid off hush money to porn stars he was cheating on with his third wife. It also said that he lost track of 545 kids and locked them up in a cage for the last 3 years and didn't do anything about it. It also said that he suggested injecting bleach into your body to cure coronavirus. I know you're gonna think come on, that couldn't possibly be true. Who would be that monumentally stupid? Young Turks, you guys are making up that evidence. There's no way that evidence is real. It also has further evidence that he, because of his deep incompetence, cost the lives of 225,000 Americans and counting.
And intentionally downplayed coronavirus. Evidence said that as well.
Yeah, and that he said that windmills cause cancer and that veterans are suckers and losers. And that he ran a sham university where he would rob people intentionally and he had to pay a $25 million fine for that. And that he ran a sham charity where he ripped people off and he had to pay a fine for that and he had to admit his guilt in both of those cases. Oh, right, that didn't get lost in the mail. Those are all things that actually happened and we all know. And you're worried about Hunter Biden with his addiction problems, how he was trying to cash in Ukraine and China without Joe Biden being involved. Wow, you guys are true journalists. Bobulinski and Giuliani and whoever else online is pushing that crap.
Yeah, exactly. And what doesn't help, there's one final piece of this story that I definitely want to bring up. What doesn't help is when you have people like Adam Schiff automatically coming out and saying this is part of a Russian disinformation campaign when there's no evidence of that either, right? So look, we don't need Russia to get involved in a disinformation campaign. Republicans, the Trump campaign, they're all about disinformation. Like, why needlessly, get out in front of any evidence and say that this is a Russian disinformation campaign? That needlessly distracted from what the reality is. And it's frustrating. And I don't know why Democrats have that knee-jerk reaction to automatically just say it's Russian disinformation. No, it's Trump campaign disinformation. That's what it appears to be at this moment.
Anyone who has followed the Russian story knows, I think Trump took money from the Russians. Why do I think that? Because Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. have said it on multiple occasions. I think he owes them money. So I have good credibility here to say, Democrats, shut up about the Russians. Like everything that happens, like Russians. Rudy Giuliani is literally a lunatic. And he's talking about how the founder of Twitter should be locked up for child pornography. Let's also note for the record that Rudy Giuliani just got busted trying to hit on a very young reporter. Okay, now he's accusing others. What do you need the Russians for? And why are you talking about that? Look, I have evidence that I have shown, unfortunately, far too many times here, because people are like, oh, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Okay, of the Trump's dealings and financial ties to the Russians. Okay, but there's evidence of that. There's no evidence that the Russians are with Rudy Giuliani, and you don't need the Russians to be tied to Rudy Giuliani, but they can't help themselves. Just in case we lose, Russians. Oh, for God's sake, man. Totally incompetent. And the fact that they can't beat back this silly little story, and they ask the media to beat it back for them. Hey, why don't you get up and fight back? And typical Democrats. So if you can't tell that we're not on the side of the Democrats or the Republicans, we're actually trying to figure out what's real, you're not paying attention. And if you think somebody else who's completely biased in one direction and doesn't give a damn about the facts and doesn't care about being fair is the one that's actually unbiased, and that every time it just so happens that the right wing is right on one media outlet, and every time in another outlet it happens that the left wing is, not the left wing, corporate Democrats are right? Oh golly gee, I wonder how that happened. And you trust them? Are you insane? Okay, look at the actual facts. The corruption overall in Washington is the biggest story that the media ignores.
Yep.
This particular story is horse crap.
All right, well, we're gonna take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna switch gears, talk about other news, including the fact that Postmaster General Louis DeJoy has refused to listen to federal courts that have urged him to reverse what he's done to the post office. We'll be back.
We need to talk about a relatively new show called the Republic, or UNFTR. As a Young Turks fan, you already know that the government, the media, and corporations are constantly peddling lies that serve the interests of the rich and powerful. But now there's a podcast dedicated to unraveling those lies, debunking the conventional wisdom. In each episode of On the Republic, or UNFTR, the host delves into a different historical episode or topic that's generally misunderstood or purposely obfuscated by the so-called powers that be, featuring in-depth research, razor-sharp commentary, and just the right amount of vulgarity. The UNFTR podcast takes a sledgehammer to what you thought you knew about some of the nation's most sacred historical cows. But don't just take my word for it. The New York Times described UNFTR as consistently compelling and educational, aiming to challenge conventional wisdom and upend the historical narratives that were taught in school. For as the great philosopher Yoda once put it, you must unlearn what you have learned. And that's true whether you're in Jedi training or you're uprooting and exposing all the propaganda and disinformation you've been fed over the course of your lifetime. So search for UNFTR in your podcast app today and get ready to get informed, angered, and entertained all at the same time.
All right, back on the Young Turks, Cenk and Anna with you guys. So I love our sponsors because they're progressive and they do fun contests. So Aspiration's doing one. After the election, 4 of you that have an Aspiration bank account and me are gonna have a private Zoom call where we're gonna break down the election and we're gonna talk about what's coming up in the future. So if you already have an Aspiration account, you don't have to do anything. But if you wanna join, aspiration.com/TYT. And I know they're not technically a bank, but it's a great place to put your money and have peace of mind. Plus, you get entered in this contest. Okay, speaking of money, we're trying to reach $200,000 for our fundraising goal, and we're near the end of the month. I don't think we're anywhere near. Let's see where we are. I want to see the thermometer. Oh, we got closer, but still a long way to 200,000. 114,648. TYT.com/go. Can we see 115 by the end of the segment? That would be super helpful, guys. And we've managed to keep everybody through the coronavirus pandemic, and I want to thank you guys for that. So you guys are awesome, and you made that possible. So let's keep that going. Nipple Pierce Cenk in skinny jeans, very fun handle. It's a member of ours. Says, will there be heavy drinking on TYT if Trump loses on Tuesday? Not from me. I try to take action, but I'll tell you, I haven't even game planned that because honestly, that's such a disaster. There is no game planning that. I mean, half of us will be game planning from prison when he starts locking up all of his opponents. Not an exaggeration. So yeah, there's no point in it. But I don't get like all sad and weepy. I always fight back. Last time he won, we started Justice Democrats. How's that working out? Pretty good, right? So it was an ironic victory out of Trump's win. But I'll tell you, if Trump does win, I mean, I'll tell you what the Democrats are gonna say. We should have picked someone more establishment than Joe Biden. There's no lessons to be learned. Okay, anyways, folks who make this show possible are members, so those are on our website, tyt.com/join. If you're on YouTube, you just hit the join button below. That's Jeff Gillian just did that, and so did Javier Magarejo and Richie Johnson. And then let me read just a couple of super chats here. A guy from chat said, that's his handle. If only there was some way to move those documents from one location to another without risking manipulation or destruction of the only copy of those documents, then there would be no story. Yeah, of course, there's 1,000 other ways to do it.
By the way, Trump has a secret Chinese bank account. Yeah. But anyway, but no, like this is.
It's so insane.
Yeah.
Andrew Grew says Tucker lost the evidence in the mail. The mail system Trump sabotaged to prevent materials from getting places. What's left for the Onion to satire? And then finally, 11111 wrote in, all using super chat. So thank you. If things go our way next week, I need a king-sized, universe-shattering, down goes. And he continues, maybe count down from 3 with the whole TYT staff, because why should Cenk have all the fun?
100%.
Love you all.
100%.
Okay. Oh, that moment when I say down goes. So don't miss election day all day long. Start at 1 p.m. Eastern, go through the middle of the night right here, and like and share this stream and that stream. All right, Anna, what's next?
All right. Earlier this year, a federal judge ordered Trump's loyalist and Postmaster General Louis DeJoy to immediately begin expanding mail delivery with extra stops and later deliveries to accommodate for the influx of mail-in ballots. Well, guess what? Louis DeJoy didn't listen. And now the judge had to get involved again and expects accountability from Louis DeJoy and the post office on a daily basis. So here's what the update is. US District Judge Emmett Sullivan in Washington late Tuesday granted an emergency request to enforce and monitor compliance with an earlier injunction he ordered. The ruling is a victory for civil rights groups and Democratic-led states that alleged in several lawsuits that the changes were undermining the election to the benefit of Donald Trump. So I'm going to read you a statement from Judge Emmett Sullivan, who says that the USPS personnel are instructed to perform late and extra trips to the maximum extent necessary to increase on-time mail deliveries, particularly for election mail. To be clear, late and extra trips should be performed to the same or greater degree than they were performed prior to July 2020, when doing so would increase on-time mail deliveries. And just to give you a sense of how disastrous the dismantling of the post office has been under this man, Louis DeJoy, who is riddled with conflicts of interest. On-time delivery of first-class mail dropped to 69.8% on Tuesday, down more than 6 percentage points from previous days, the USPS said in a court filing on Wednesday. So many people have noticed that they're not getting their packages or their mail on time. Before Louis DeJoy, this wasn't an issue. And so when you really take a step back and you look at what the Trump campaign has done successfully to essentially rig this election in his favor, it's enraging, it's maddening, it's terrifying. You have what's happening with the post office. You have armed individuals showing up at in-person voting locations to intimidate voters. You have the Supreme Court now stacked with conservative judges, many of whom, 3 of whom actually worked on George Bush's side in 2000 when George Bush stole the election. I mean, you got to give the Trump campaign credit, I guess. I mean, this is a multi-pronged approach, and really we haven't seen a successful way of fighting back from the Democrats. And so this is what we're dealing with.
Yeah, so there's 2 different problems here. One is that the Republicans lie and cheat on a regular basis, and it does give them a political advantage. If you know the Democrats have asked for and submitted more mail-in ballots, which we all know for a fact, you don't know how they voted, but you know who's registered Democrats and Republicans. Well, what would you do if you ran the government and you wanted to cheat? You would slow down the mail. Of course you would, right? If you knew that there's a lot of Democratic voters on college campuses and in heavily African-American areas of states, and you wanted to cheat, what would you do? You'd put less polling stations in those areas so that they had to wait longer in line, and some of them couldn't wait, and you'd shave off 1%, 2% of their votes by making it much, much harder to vote. And I can go on and on. So I understand that if you have no morals, that is the strategies that you would do. But Democrats never do any of that. Then there's the gerrymandering, then there's the electoral college, there's all these things. And so number one, if one side decides they're gonna lie and cheat and steal, and the other side doesn't, the cheaters already have a giant advantage. Number 2, Democratic leadership happens to be historically incompetent and weak. So not only do they not lie and cheat, which I don't want them to, but they can't even counter the Republicans when they do. They're like, oh no, you waited a year for Merrick Garland, but now you're gonna put Barrett on the court right away. I guess there's nothing we could do.
We're gonna call you hypocrites. You have been very naughty. And people will respond to our calls of hypocrisy.
Oh yeah, strongly worded letters. oh, you guys are gerrymandering every state you control, including in North Carolina, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, 3 critical swing states, so that you win more legislators in those states, even though you lose the majority of the vote in those states, just kind of like the national elections. Now, are the Democrats going to do likewise? With the exception of Maryland, no, nowhere else. No. Oh, we legally counter what the Republicans are doing? No, we're unilateral surrender every time. And the third culprit here is the media. So they just discovered that the Republican Party might be using racist strategies because of Donald Trump. What the hell's the Southern strategy? The Southern strategy is, it's not about anything but racism. The Republican Party took an avowedly racist strategy for 40, 50 years and said, now that the Democrats are not the Dixiecrats anymore, we are going to appeal to racists in the South to get them on our side by smearing blacks and Latinos in this country. And the media is like, oh, I don't notice. And I can go on and on. And so and now because of Trump, they're finally beginning to cover some of these stories, but the Republicans have been purging voter rolls for decades. They've been playing that polling station trick for decades. They've been gerrymandering for decades. And the media was like, I don't see it. Lies and truth are equal, 50-50. He said, she said, I can't tell. And what does that do? That gives a massive advantage to the liars. So if all you cared about was power, you would do exactly what the Republicans are doing. And if you're the Democrats or the media, you are just terrible at your job. And that leaves us in a situation where we're nip and tuck on whether a fascist is going to take control of the United States of America.
Well, now we turn to my least favorite part of the show. We got to take another break. We'll be right back.
At TYT, we frequently talk about all the ways that big tech companies are taking control of our online lives, constantly monitoring us and storing and selling our data. But that doesn't mean we have to let them. It's possible to stay anonymous online and hide your data from the prying eyes of big tech. And one of the best ways is with ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN hides your IP address, making your activity more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your network data to protect you from eavesdroppers and cyber criminals. And it's also easy to install. A single mouse click protects all your devices. But listen, guys, this is important. ExpressVPN is rated #1 by CNET and Wired magazine. So take back control of your life online and secure your data with a top VPN solution available, ExpressVPN. And if you go to expressvpn.com/TYT, you can get 3 extra months for free with this exclusive link just for TYT fans. That's expressvpn.com/TYT. Check it out today.
All right, back on the Young Turks. We got huge Young Turks coverage today on Twitch. Okay, so Twitch carries the show live, all of our shows live. And then if you're a member on Twitch, you can get them whenever you want. But tonight, we have exclusive programming on Twitch. I'm gonna interview Gary Chambers Jr. He's an amazing character. You're gonna love him. That's at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And then after that is game night. Anna joins game night. Look at this, okay? So it's gonna be Anna, John, Brett, and Jordan Yule, okay? So check that out, everybody, and you make all that possible. Look, if you've got a Amazon Prime account, it's free for you guys, but we get paid, so it's perfect, okay? So subscribe, and you have to renew that subscription, I think, every month, but that's all right, keep it going, and you guys are allowing us to do some great programming on there. In fact, let me do shout outs for Twitch subs. Perwizzy got a 6-month sub at tier 3. I love these names. Rouse52, Blanco FTP, Azazel 8, and Angie Pepper 2, and she did it with Prime, so that makes sense. Now, some love for Anna. Gamer B writes in on Super Chat. Hi from Texas. Do you think you'll bring back No Filter in the future? I'm in the Dragon Squad, but you'll always be my Salt Queen.
Aww, that was a good show. It was a very good show.
Okay, and last one is from the member section, tyt.com/join to become a member. On YouTube, you hit the join button below. Eclectic Miscellaneous says, I'm waiting for that glorious moment when Cenk has to fork over $400 for losing his bet to Anna about Trump leaving office before his first term is up. Hashtag Team Anna. Okay, can I get a Team Cenk? I feel like there's squads, there's teams, Hey, over here. All right, anyway. All right, let's keep going. No, right. Edwin says. All right, keep going.
All right. A church in France was the target of a terrorist attack this morning. A man entered the Notre Dame Basilica in Nice and began stabbing people. Unfortunately, 3 people were killed in the attack, two of whom were inside the church at the time, and then the 3rd victim died outside of the church. Now, Emmanuel Macron added that he's mobilizing thousands of soldiers in response to the threat of terrorism, boosting France's domestic Operation Sentinel security mission from 3,000 to 7,000 soldiers. But this was one of 3 recent terrorist attacks in the country. And in this next video, the BBC gives more details into what happened this morning.
Chaos and terror in the heart of another French city. Streets closed, swarming with police and paramedics, the stunned aftermath of France's latest horrific attack. It took place around 9 in the morning in the city's neo-Gothic Basilica of Notre Dame. Shouting Allahu Akbar, the attacker stabbed 3 people, including the caretaker. One of the victims is thought to have been beheaded. Another, a woman, fled to a nearby cafe before dying.
We heard many people shouting in the streets. So we saw by the windows that there were many policemen coming, and then we heard gunshots, many gunshots, and more policemen.
The city's mayor called for unity, but said it was clear this was terrorism.
Now, earlier there was a horrific attack involving a middle school teacher who was killed because he showed some, I guess, offensive cartoons, caricatures of the Prophet Muhammad during one of the classes to make a statement about free speech. And really at the heart of this is more of what we had talked about years ago in regard to Charlie Hebdo and the caricatures that they've put out of the Prophet Muhammad. This is something that Muslims find deeply offensive, and unfortunately, some of them go to an extreme and carry out these attacks. So in the next clip, the BBC talks a little more about that. But there are other countries getting involved in this as well, including Erdogan of Turkey. I'll highlight why when we come back from this clip.
France is still in shock after the murder of middle school teacher Samuel Paty. Most French citizens proudly defending their country's secular values. For Nice, memories too of 2016, when 86 people celebrating Bastille Day were killed by a Tunisian immigrant driving a truck. But around the Muslim world, there's anger at what some describe as President Macron's anti-Islam agenda. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan has accused the French president of encouraging Islamophobia. Turkey's President Erdogan has urged Turks to boycott French goods and said Monsieur Macron needed a mental health check.
So let's talk a little bit about Erdogan, because while he's engaged in helping Azerbaijan carry out ethnic cleansing in Nagorno-Karabakh, at the same time, his feelings are very hurt about the way he was depicted in Charlie Hebdo. And so let me give you the details on that. The cartoon depicts Turkey's president lifting the dress of a veiled woman. State media say Turkish prosecutors have launched an official investigation into the satirical magazine. No, like, these are strongmen, right? These are authoritarian strongmen. Erdogan is exactly that. And he's crying about how he's depicted in a cartoon. I mean, if Erdogan had to deal with like what we deal with on a daily basis in terms of like the constant feedback, the threats, the in my case, incredibly degrading stuff that people put out there about me, he would be like laying in a fetal position in a corner somewhere. Like, what's up, tough guy? Really? Like there are tensions flaring right now between France and Turkey over cartoons. I get that people are offended by it, but the world is offensive. What else can we do? Like, we can't protect everybody from hurt feelings. Like, it's insane. This is insane.
Yeah, I don't even care that they're offended. I'll get to that in a second. Let me do this one by one, but I want to be clear about all of this, okay? So first of all, Turkey was upset with Macron earlier, and particularly about that cartoon, which is as ridiculous as Anna says. But after this latest killing, Turkey sent a message, as did a lot of Muslim countries, saying that they stand with the victims and obviously condemn the horrific terrorist act. And I don't like it that Muslims have to, all Muslims, 1.5 billion Muslims have to apologize for every attack by some radical Muslim fundamentalist idiot. If that same standard was applied to white people, you'd all have to apologize for every white supremacist domestic terrorist attack in America, which is now in the dozens, and a far greater percentage of white people in America than there are of Muslim terrorists to the 1.5 billion Muslims in the world. So I don't see anyone calling for an apology from all white people, because that makes no sense. I also don't see any reasons why any Muslim in the world should apologize for terrorists that have absolutely nothing to do with them. So I'm just gonna say it real quick, Nagorno-Karabakh, it also should be pointed out that Armenia did not listen to a UN resolution saying that that is not their land. So that's the two sides of that issue.
I mean, look, Cenk, you and I can talk about this story more in depth, but a UN resolution by countries that don't even recognize the Armenian genocide, that was their land, that was historically their land, and it was handed over.
No, and
yes,
you sound like an Israeli right-winger, honestly.
No, it's not true, Cenk, that area-
It was my land 2,000 years ago.
Okay.
I don't recognize the United Nations.
Okay.
Well, that's convenient, right? So look, I'm not saying who's right or wrong, and I got no dog in that fight. I really don't. In terms of, I don't know the Azerbaijan internal politics versus Armenian internal politics.
I do.
Okay, all right, yeah, but you can't conveniently say, hey, UN resolutions don't count when it's my ethnicity. Okay, UN resolutions do count, and so that gets held over Turkey's head on Cyprus for 50 years. Now, when Armenia does it, oh no, it's okay. UN resolutions don't mean anything. We hold it over Israel's head, that they're doing things that are against the United Nations and the whole world agrees on. So we have to be consistent. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, but I think it's also incredibly relevant to talk about the fact that we have ethnic Armenians who have been living there literally for centuries, living their lives, not doing anything wrong, literally doing nothing wrong, and they're being attacked. Their churches are being bombed. Their hospitals are being bombed.
Did we note that Armenia invaded in the first place? Did we note that?
Armenians were already there.
Did we note that they also did ethnic cleansing when they first came in?
Cenk, that land was handed over to Azerbaijan, okay, by Stalin, because Stalin was hoping that Turkey would become an ally, and that didn't work out for Stalin. And because of what Stalin did, Armenians are suffering the consequences of his decisions from decades ago. Okay, the innocent civilians are dying as a result of that. Yeah.
Only innocent Armenians, right? No innocent Azerbaijanis.
Well, they're going to defend themselves, Cenk.
Oh,
what do you
okay.
want them
So
to
when
do?
Azerbaijan defends itself, it's not defending. When Armenia defends itself, it's defense.
Azerbaijan has broken every single ceasefire that they have agreed to.
Who broke the United Nations resolution and took the land in the first place?
They have broken every single ceasefire.
Anyway, now back to Erdogan. Okay. Erdogan, you're a tough guy. Okay, you're a tough guy. Like, that's your big claim to fame, right? You're a strong man. And you beat back the coup in a tough way, and I gave you credit for that, right? So they did a cartoon of you, and your ego is hurt? And so you're gonna go and turn your whole country against France, an ally, because your feelings were hurt? Because your feelings were hurt. That's so sad. I'm not talking about the Muhammad cartoon. It's the one about Erdogan. Oh my God, they made fun of me. Be a man, grow up. So they made fun of you, that you're the president of a giant country, one of the top 20 countries in the world. You're worried about a cartoon? It's pathetic. Now, in terms of, you want to talk about pathetic, the terrorist that did the attack here. The guy chants Allahu Akbar. You know what Allahu Akbar means? It's a perfectly benign and great saying. It means God is great. If you're a Christian, I assume you think God is great. If you're Jewish, etc., I assume you think God is great. That's all it is. It's an Arabic translation of God is great, right? So wait, if you're slitting somebody's throat, why are you saying God is great? You apparently think God is totally powerless. That God is taking a nap or something, and you had to act on behalf of God. That's what you had to do, right? No, you don't believe in God at all, at all. Oh, God is great and he's all powerful, But he couldn't do anything about this cartoon, so I had to violently murder people on his behalf. At least that's what got whispered into my ear. All of those fundamentalists, whether they're Muslims or Christians or Jews or any other race, you're all lunatics. There is no God talking to you, telling you to kill people. So, and now Muslims sometimes go, oh, I'm offended, I'm offended. I don't care, I don't care. So you're offended that somebody drew a cartoon of Muhammad. First of all, let's get it right. You're not supposed to draw a cartoon of Muhammad. But if you're not Muslim, it doesn't say that non-Muslims aren't supposed to draw cartoons of Muhammad. And memo to Muslims worldwide, non-Muslims do not have to follow Muslim law. They just don't have to, they just don't. Oh, well, it offends me that they're not following Muslim law and they're drawing things I don't like. They're drawing cats and dogs and prophets. That's not your business. That's not your business. And if you're an insane Muslim fundamentalist and you want to murder people over it, well, I mean, obviously you're a lunatic. And you have shown through your actions that you think God is nothing. He can't even handle himself and you got to step in for him, okay? And if you're murdering people over cartoons, you are the biggest idiot in the history of the world. And if you're anyone defending someone doing that, you're the biggest idiot in the world. So I stand with the French and I will go and buy 1,000 French products in response to this. And all those people, oh, my feelings are offended. Let's go murder people and attack the French. I don't give a damn about your feelings. And if your God was so powerful, why doesn't he ever do anything? Why does he need you to murder on his behalf? You don't even believe in God at all. That's the funny part.
Yeah, and all this does is draw more attention to the cartoons that you're so offended by. That's all it does. Draws more attention to it. Unfortunately, unhinged lunatics carry out acts of violence as a result of that. But if you're embarrassed by a cartoon, maybe don't make such a big deal about it, but they just can't. They can't stop themselves.
All right, guys, look, we got a lot of great stories for you in the post game, and we'll cool down a little bit, or maybe we won't. But as you can tell, this is a show, not only a rare show, perhaps a unique show that allows for dissent, that allows for disagreement and debate, and does it openly, publicly, and in front of all of you, okay? And we are super proud of that. We don't all have to agree, and you don't have to agree with us all the time, and you should always double check what any of us are saying and all of us are saying. And you should do that with every news program. Whereas the rest of the media will ban you completely if you dare disagree with them a little bit. All right, in the post game, we have the John Ossoff story, which is amazing. He destroyed David Perdue, of all people, Ossoff. Destroyed him in a debate. It's a clinic, and I want you to watch it so you can see what Democrats can do in any debate. And then we have an amazing update that just happened to that story, so you don't want to miss that. And on top of that, we have a story by Jared Kushner basically admitting, yeah, we wanted to blame, well, I'll tell you the whole strategy when we come back, but it was a strategy to try to get credit while blaming others if things went wrong with coronavirus. So if you're watching anywhere, tyt.com/join, you help support this independent program that is different than any other program, and you get our message out there. And if you're watching on YouTube, it's so easy, hit the join button below. And guys, if you can, our fundraising campaign is super important to us. It keeps us strong and sustainable. tyt.com/go. And please, if you can, that makes a giant difference to us. We deeply appreciate it. We have so much more for you in the post game, and we'll see you there in a minute.
Thanks for listening to the full episode of the Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and I'll see you soon.